career, which ties in pretty much with the creation of the book and all that stuff at the end of it. That's going to be a lot, man. There's a lot of material there.
Yeah. And I don't limit the show either, so we're just wondering how much time you got.
Yeah.
All right, let's do this, man. All right, lead heads. We are back with a whole new year of the Talking Lead podcast, kicking off 2022. That's a lot of twos in there, 20s and twos. 2022 with the Talking Lead podcast here. This episode, 420, I think it might be. We'll just call it episode 1 of 2022, which I don't normally do that. So welcome in. Hope everybody had a wonderful Christmas. Happy New Year. And looking forward to this new year, as I am. And we're going to kick this show off with a badass dude that I just recently got introduced to through our good buddy Brooksy. And you all know who Brooksy is. He's been on the show several times. He's a good dude. Andrew Coussens is joining us today. Andrew, welcome in.
Hey, thanks. Happy New Year, buddy.
Yeah, Happy New Year, man. And what part of the country are you in?
I'm out in Boise, Idaho, if you can believe that. So
okay, you're up there close to Brooksy then.
Yeah, in the same town, actually. That's I just got to know Brooksy in probably the last 6 months, and we have so many people in common. I'm surprised I haven't met him before.
Yeah, I mean it's a big industry, but at the same time it's a very tight, close knit.
Oh yeah,
definitely. So I guess the weather out there, you guys are getting the winter wonderland going on.
Yeah, I mean every year we get snow right around Christmas, every a little bit, but it's more so than normal. And I'm thinking maybe this is what it's going to take to get all the Californians to pack up and move back.
I wish somebody could come up with a formula for that to get them to not migrate this direction.
I've got a lot of friends from there, believe it or not, but they always want to be the last one here when they show up. So
yeah, I get it. If they would just stay there and stand for more change.
Yep.
Instead of all that liberal bull crap.
Absolutely.
Stay there and fight the good fight, but yet they exit, and then wherever they go, they try to make it just like what they left, which is ridiculous.
That's actually what I was going to nominate for your segment.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll save that. Put that in your pocket. Because the Jackwagon train is back again for another year, lead heads. And we are celebrating our 10th year of Talking Lead. December 2012 is when we started. So actually it'll be this December will be our 10th year anniversary. So this whole year, we're going to be celebrating our 10th year anniversary here on the Talking Lead podcast. So it's an honor to have you on to kick off the year 2022, Andrew. Andrew is an author. He's also a former special ops. Are you still current with them or?
Yes and no.
Contract work?
Yeah, contract work.
Gotcha. And what branch were you initially served in?
I wasn't necessarily. I came from federal law enforcement background, was recruited for one of the agencies, and I say agency lightly because technically they don't like their name to be thrown out there so much, but we all know who we're talking about. Other government agency or OGAs, it's how it's commonly titled, right? The three-letter agency you can't say, but I was recruited in 2008 after doing the 2002 Winter Olympics, NSSE, which stands for National Security Special Events, which is a task force made up of a variety of special agencies for big high-profile events, right, to protect those from nefarious intent, mostly terrorism. I met some guys from that side of the house and got my top secret clearance and started deploying with that program in 2008. So all over the world now. Yeah.
Been doing that a while now.
Yeah.
And we're going to get into that. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about your books. A Failed State was the one that kicked it off. You got a degree in journalism, I understand.
I do.
Got your degree in what college did you go to?
I went to University of Arizona, which I'm sure some of your listeners know is listed as one of the premier party schools in the country. So I don't know what they think the value of that degree is, but we'll just leave it at that.
What college has not been nominated at some point in time as the party capital? Yeah. Even here in my hometown here, not my hometown, but where I live now, Murfreesboro, Tennessee, Middle Tennessee State University.
Yep.
At some point in time, I've seen it like #1 on the all-time party schools or something like that.
Well, Tennessee, I could see, but any college like University of Arizona or ASU or USC with consistently good weather, right, where you're not stuck indoors, you're motivated to have extracurricular activities, I guess. So
that's true. And the thing about this one here, and I don't know if it's so much these days, but when I was there, it was considered a suitcase college. So, you're here during the week and then people pack up and leave on the weekends. But it still made, top party school back in those days. But
yeah.
That's probably due to me and my gang in my crew, because we didn't pack up and go home.
Sounds good.
We stayed and rode it out on the weekends. Had a good time. Miss those days, the good old college days. I don't understand those people that want to rush through and get done in like 3 years,
Well, I was on the 5-year plan minimum, I think.
Yeah.
So
I took an extra summer. Had to do a little makeup for my freshman year, but I got caught up. Doubled up and caught up, definitely. So we're going to talk about Andrew and his background, his books. Like I said, A Failed State was your first one. You've got a sequel to that's out now. And then I think you got another one in the works that we're going to talk about.
Yep.
But before we do that, I know a lot of listeners are tuning in right now because, Andrew, I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but we just had an awesome holiday giveaway promotion that we were doing with some of our friends of the show, IWI-US, Jeremy Gresham over there, who's the sponsor of the AK Corner. It's a monthly show that we do that's specifically dedicated to the AK-47 and similar type Eastern Bloc weapons. Really fun show. Going into our 4th season this year with that. They put up a Galil Ace as the top prize giveaway. And then we had several friends and sponsors of the show that wanted to join in on that and do some accompanying prizes along with it. So we had Lockdown, Ronell with Lockdown, who was on the show a few episodes back, joined in, and they threw in, I'm going to have to get my list here because I can't remember all the awesome prizes that everybody kicked in. With Lockdown, they had the Hide-A-Shelf. You've seen that furniture where you can hide guns in your house and it just looks like normal furniture. They've got one that's called Hide-A-Shelf. And for our video watchers here, I'm going to share my screen. And no, I haven't got more proficient in this new year with my technology lead head. So you're still going to get the fumble bumble Lefty on the controls here. So here it is. As you can see here, is our holiday giveaway. Lockdown, they had the Hide-A-Shelf. They had a gun lock that goes into the trigger. It's like a little trigger lock. It's got a combo thing that you can put on your firearm. The Puck, which is a cool little digital Bluetooth device, security device that you can put in your safe, on your safe, around your safe. Ideally, you put it in your safe because it keeps tabs on your temperature, humidity, gives you warnings like if your temperature rises, the humidity gets too high in your safe. There's other cool features that it's got, but the cool thing that I like about it is that it detects vibrations as well. So if somebody's trying to get into your safe, it'll send you a notice on your phone, text message, email, if you're away from your house, let you know that somebody might be trying to access your safe. Great for children too, if you want to deter your children from messing around with your safe. All kinds of other uses that we talked about on the show that you could do with this thing, but that was included, and then also a pistol shelf to go inside your safe that you can store your pistols. So Lockdown threw in a bunch of stuff. Enforce had one of their weapon lights that they included. that you're going to be able to mount on that Galil Ace. Very cool. I've got one somewhere back here that I've been using. I really like it. Flatline Fiber Co. They did a rifle sling and a dump pouch, which you'll appreciate this, Andrew, is their pouch. They've done some innovations to it. So inside they put like some pockets, some administrative pockets, so you can put pins or whatever, extra, maybe mags or something like that inside the dump pouch. So they added to the functionality of their dump pouch. Flatline Fiber Co. Awesome company there, Chad. Seal One. So to keep your Galil clean and lubed and protected from the elements, protected from corrosion, Seal One CLP. Awesome products there from Dwight. He threw in a complete care package kit that includes gobs of stuff. There's a whole list of what all is included in that, but you got like 3 different forms of the Seal One formula in that, maybe 4, I don't know. Got the cleaning brush, the pads, the pre-soaked pads, bore pads. So awesome gift from Seal One. And then Mission First Tactical really stepped it up, and they did some custom magazines. You see those magazines there, Andrew?
Yeah, nice. Those are nice looking.
So we did the ugly Christmas sweater is the theme on those. And what's really cool about their process is that that's ink injected in there. That's not like a wrap or anything that's gonna scratch off. It's ink injected, and you're not seeing what I'm holding up right now because I got my share screen on, but I've got some with our logo on it. Those are going to be cool. And then we did one that's got the American flag and in honor of the Galil, the Israeli flag, on the other side of that. So 5 mags, a holster of your choice. So whatever pistol that you're carrying, you just let Dave know, whoever the winner is, and he's going to get you whatever holster you want. And then they just started doing bags at Mission First Tactical. So they've got backpacks and bags, gun cases, soft gun cases that they're doing there, and they included one of their cool warrior bags as well. So I don't know what the total dollar value on this is. I don't really care. It's just all cool shit, that we're giving one person. One person wins it all, and we had, I don't know how many, over 100,000, 200,000 entries. I don't know. It was a whole bunch of entries. And we had the opportunity for you to get 500 extra entries for listeners of the show. And that code, because everybody kept emailing us, what's the code? What's the code? I was like, well, you got to listen to the show. I'm not going to tell you what it is. You got to earn it. You got to earn those. And it was 2A. Just 2A. A capital A with the number 2. I called it capital 2 on the show when I announced it, but I don't think numbers can be capitalized, can they? Is there lowercase and uppercase numbers?
No, there is not.
They teach you that in journalism?
I don't remember.
So that code was 2A. I'll tell it to you now because it's over. The contest is over, and we do have a winner, and I'm going to announce that winner later in the show. I'm getting cussed right now. All the listeners are like, you son of a, just tell us. And I know you're going to fast forward to the end thinking that I'm going to announce it at the end, but it's not going to be at the end. It's going to be somewhere in the middle of the show. I'm going to announce the winner. Should I do that to him, or should I just go ahead and announce who the winner is?
No, let's keep them hanging. I like it.
Keep them hanging? Okay. Yeah. I don't want to piss him off too bad, but let's do this. We'll do the Jackwagon train, and we'll think about it.
Yeah, that's a lot of loot, man. That's worth it.
It's worth it, yeah. So big thanks to all the companies that took part in that giveaway, made it special. And I'm going to be doing other giveaways throughout the year, so there'll be other opportunities. We'll probably have some more guns. I mean, we did one earlier in the year where we gave away 5 guns last year. So always giving away stuff here, rewarding our listeners. And that's thanks to the sponsors of the show, friends of the show. So make sure you go and support them and show them love and let them know how much you appreciate them making this show possible for you. Because at this point in time, I haven't, I don't charge for the show. It's free to our listeners. They don't pay a dime. But I may be looking at doing some kind of like a Patreon or something like that this year, and reward those with extra discounts and things like that. So something we're looking into, Leadhead. So be paying attention. But yeah, that's it. Let's get into the jackwagon train now. So Gunny, bring that train in, and Andrew and I are going to haul off some jackwagons and honor some heroes.
Hoorah, Semper Fi, do or die, hold 'em high at 8th and I. It is time for the Talking Lead Jackwagon of the Week, so brace yourself, baby.
All right, so train has stationed. And Andrew, I'm going to give you the honors of starting us off with who your jackwagon is.
Well, we talked about the winter weather coming into Boise, which is a little bit unseasonably high this time of year, but I think by and large, the problem that I have is with a group, and that is, unfortunately, with all the moving that's been done here from California, is California drivers. They don't know how to drive in snow. You get your Northern California folks that know what they're doing, but a lot of Southern California folks will throw on the hazard lights on the highway,
Yeah,
20 miles an hour in whatever, foreign car they decided to come here with. And as you know, there's not many people that are Idaho natives or grew up here that don't have a truck, because they know what the weather can switch on a dime.
Oh yeah.
So getting stuck behind somebody in a lane, driving 20 miles an hour on a 65 mile an hour highway that pushes through town is an experience, and unfortunately a lot of expletives leave the mouth.
Well, you guys, like you said, it's not your first rodeo with winter, and your officials, your city road commissioner, whatever you guys call them up there, I'm sure that they break out the salt trucks and the scrapers and all that, and they're actually taking care of the road systems too.
Yeah.
So that plays a big part. I don't know if you saw on the news, up in Virginia.
Oh yeah.
Did you see that fiasco where over 1,000 cars backed up for like a day or so? And it was like dozens and dozens of hours. So I don't know how many days that adds up to, but
a lot of Teslas, man, that just did not make the cut.
The batteries, but cars with gas were running out of gas.
Yep.
People were hungry, running out of food, didn't have anything to eat, no warmth, because when your car's dead, then you got no heat.
Yep.
What are you supposed to do? But they didn't break out the salt trucks, and they're blaming it on the new governor, who's an intern. What is it called? Interim, when he's just now coming in. He's not actually governor yet.
Yeah.
The other guy is still the governor, and he didn't do anything about it. So that's my jackwagon right there.
Hey, man, our jackwagons match up, though, because although yours might be the ones responsible for the roads, mine are the ones that are on the roads.
On the road, yeah. Well, and that's the thing, too. You can't rely on the government. You got to do some things for yourself. You can't always. Well, they're going to go out and fix the roads. I don't have anything to worry about. Obviously, you see that's not always the case, because political agendas come into play, and who does that affect? It doesn't affect them; it affects us.
Absolutely, and we can complain about it like we're doing right now.
Yeah. Oh, we're just pointing it out. We're not complaining. We're just pointing out, jackwagons. These people are jackwagons.
Yes, sir.
And we were talking about this also, where the Californians that are moving out, the mass exodus that's been going on there, and in New York as well, where they're coming to, all these ideal locations like Tennessee, like Idaho, like Montana, and they come there because they see that it's a better way of life, and the great things that we're enjoying in our state, because we fought for years to get them to this level, but yet they come in here, they want to enjoy it, but then at the same time they still want to vote and have those beliefs that they had when they were in these communist states, communist counties, communist cities, and then they try to change it again and make it just like what they were trying to escape. Yeah, it's just mind blowing. I don't get it. I don't understand it.
Well, we'll get into this some more, because we just trained McCall Police Department, which I said, like earlier in our conversation, is a mountain town, central Idaho mountain town that, you know, ski town and all kinds of amenities. It blows up to, you know, 50, 60,000 in population over the summer when everybody wants to get away from the heat down here in the valley. And they get more calls nowadays by people seeing somebody open carrying in the grocery store, you know, from
Really?
all the Californians that are vacationing up there, or might be, you know, having a weekend at the ski resort, and they are just like, yeah, so, you know, and people
Yeah,
are working
it's legal.
because that's not something you see in the state of California. So I don't know, man.
Well, speaking of the state of California, I'm gonna jump to a hero. And all you listeners, I'm sure you're aware, and some of you may not be, but in states like New York, and I don't know if they've done this in California, but I'm sure they have. But you've seen and heard about these waves of groups of people that are going and just robbing stores. They're just breaking in, and they go in and just mass, you know, rob a store. I mean, basically that's what they're robbing them. They're stealing. But it's because these states have made it known that they're not going to prosecute people only up to a certain dollar amount. And I don't know what it is, but, you know, before it used to be what, $500 used to be a felony. If you stole something over $500, then it's a felony. Laws may change or be different in other states. Check your local laws, but I think they like upped it to 5,000 or something. I don't know. They're just not going to bother prosecuting anybody. And if they bring them in, get them arrested, then they're just releasing them and back into society. And what are they doing? Then they're going and robbing another store. But this one business owner in California, it says legally armed citizen thwarts California smash and grab, and that's what they're calling smash and grabs, attempted robbery. It says a legally armed Southern California jewelry store owner thwarted an attempted smash and grab robbery by 4 men. And they're coming in groups of people. You know, it's not just one person doing this. It's usually a mob of thieves that are coming in and just overwhelming a place. Which gets me on another thing about our Jackwagons, the magazine capacity. But we'll talk about that. 4 suspects entered a jewelry store in Upland last Thursday just after 2:30 p.m. and deployed bear spray on everyone inside. That's cruel. Bear spray is no joke. After the owner brandished a legally possessed firearm, the suspects took off in a getaway vehicle waiting outside. No one in the business was seriously injured. So he just brandished it. So I guess he just waved it and, you know, threatened to shoot him. And kudos to him for not actually pulling the trigger and, you know, blowing these douchebags away. A little self-restraint. But that goes to show you that just a little show of resistance, you know, that you're not going to take it, what it will do to get rid of these people, because they're cowards. They don't want a confrontation.
Yeah.
They don't want to be met with any resistance whatsoever. And the laws that have been, you know, passing and the lackadaisical enforcement of the existing laws is what's really emboldened these criminals to do this. And they know, there's like, hey, I'm not going to get prosecuted for this. I can go in. I don't even need a gun. I don't need a weapon, because that definitely would be a felony, you know. So they're going in with bear spray and stuff. It's ridiculous.
Just all this effort you don't need to, you know, all this effort you shouldn't have to put in defending your business, you know.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Well, and you know, the police department's not going to bother with it either, because they know they can't. It's useless for them to go in and arrest these people.
Yep. Useless paperwork.
It's just useless paperwork. And it all goes back to that when they started defunding the police. You know, just really. What's the word I want to use as far as the police and their authority and their presence? You know, it just really depleted that. So I don't see a name here or anything like that, but the suspects have been identified, probably, you know, lifetime criminals. The 4 were booked into West Valley Detention Center on various felony charges. So they probably got them on something else other than that.
Oh, they probably had outstanding warrants, I would imagine.
Yeah.
More
than likely. But there you go. So there's our hero, is that business owner there in California, which there's no telling what he had to go through to get the license for the firearm. Probably the only reason is because he's a business owner, a jewelry store business owner, which, those are high risk robbery targets. So what about you? You got any heroes?
I do, man. I'm good friends with Anna Paulina Luna, who is a congressional candidate. Didn't win the first time around, but is up for another election in Florida. And she holds all the ideals that I think we both value in high regard. And Anna Paulina Luna is really just, her husband is a great guy. His name is Andy. He's an active duty Air Force CCT. I can't remember which special tactics squadron he's with, but just a great couple, and someone I certainly hopes get elected based on their values, and really wants to just keep Florida, firmly entrenched in the values that it currently is that are being propagated by the governor down there, and keeping that state obviously one of high destination. One of the only states, obviously, that stands up for the rights of folks that want to have body autonomy, don't want to have to necessarily worry about getting force vaccinated, and certainly don't need passports or any kind of proof of vaccination to enter any of the great businesses down there in Florida proper. So my family and I will be going down there as well, man, this spring, and enjoying the weather and just having a great time. But she's a veteran as well. She's an Air Force veteran, so just a great individual, man.
Anna Paulina Luna. That's a catchy name.
Yeah, and she's Latino, so
a lot of A.
She's got her finger on the pulse of what everybody is needing down there, especially with so many of the immigrants coming in, legally, obviously, from Cuba and some of the other destinations. So,
yeah, very cool.
Yeah, good gal.
Did you see where the Marjorie Taylor Greene was banned?
Yes.
On Twitter.
Yes. What is she?
It's
was just
so ridiculous.
Just a link, right? Didn't she just put a link up? It wasn't an
she
opinion.
just stated facts. She just stated facts. Yeah. That was it. And again, whether they're facts or it's her opinion, I don't. It's ridiculous. I mean, it's obvious what these social media companies are doing. I mean, they are squelching speech, freedom of speech, opposition. They don't want to hear it.
Unbelievable. Yep. Unbelievable.
It's unbelievable that's happening in this country. I mean, it is, but it's been going on for years now. And
yeah. And I think what happens internally in the U.S. in certain states gets overshadowed because countries like Canada go way overboard, and they're doing it again for Omicron. They're cracking down, going into full lockdown, schools, businesses, just keeping people at home. I think that's hitting the news now too. And, Omicron's got really mild symptoms.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, the original Corona, COVID, whatever they call it, again, very small percentage of people that it is detrimental to.
Yeah.
This one's even less potent. That maybe it's more contagious. I don't know, but it's less potent. But yet they're making it doubly as worse.
Right.
Because people are testing positive for it. I mean, it's like I tested positive for a cold because it's winter. People die from colds too. But they're going to call a cold COVID now. They're going to call it the Omicron or whatever.
Of course they are, man, because
they changed the definition of what a cold is, what pneumonia is.
Oh, we're going to get another variant, I'm sure, after this, and it's just going to keep perpetuating. So I don't know how long people expect
They were losing control, so they had to come up with something else to keep the control. And people are buying into it.
Agreed.
Buying into it, left and right. It's ridiculous. My girlfriend, she's in the entertainment industry, and we went. I was going to say we went to New Mexico for Christmas, over Christmas vacation, and we had everything planned before this, but they reinstated the mask mandates there, or otherwise I wouldn't have gone if we didn't have everything already booked and whatnot.
Right.
And anything indoors, they were requiring that you wear a mask. If you go into a shop, if you go into a restaurant. But what's ridiculous is you go into a restaurant, you wear it when you first come in, and once you sit down at the table, you can take it off. And you eat, and if you get up and leave, they want you to put it back on. I was like, I've been sitting here breathing this air for an hour now, and now I gotta. It's knee-jerk reactions. It's something that we're doing something. We're trying, to stop this when it does nothing. It's very ineffective.
I don't think it's going away anytime soon, man. When you have that much control.
It's proof in the pudding, man, where they're reinstating all this crap again, where we thought we had it under control and everybody was de-escalating the situation, and you thought everybody was like, okay, well, this isn't as bad as they're making it out to be. But anything, they just, I don't know. I don't get it. I don't understand a lot of people's mentality. Drama's just got to be happening constantly, I guess.
Yeah.
Country is a bunch of drama queens.
That's why we're going to Florida, man. This spring, we're going to Florida because they're doing it right. Although
permanently moving to Florida, not as a vacation. This is a permanent.
Going down there, just going. We've been. I've got a former military working dog, and he was trained by a really good buddy of mine, former Ranger dog handler with 3rd Battalion, named Eric Innes, who owns Coastline Canine. So when we go back down there, I'll go for the first couple of days to Coastline in Naples and train Dexter, who's actually a pretty famous dog. He was kind of the headliner at the Special Operations Forces Industry Conference in Tampa in 2019. Oh, okay. Yeah, he was debuting all the latest gear, the helmet by Canine Helm, the Mohawk camera on it, and all the latest gear for all the companies.
You a dog handler?
Well, I am now. I am now, man. I have to be. I mean, those dogs require so much, hands-on and attention because of, they're just high-strung and always wanting to work. So you got to be on it. If you're lackadaisical, they'll go tear some other neighborhood dog up or something like that if you're not using relevant commands. What's that?
I said, oh yeah,
and we go down there for the first couple of days. Yeah. And we let Dexter have a couple of days with us and a handler, and then we usually leave him to board and train with Eric and some of his professional staff down there at Coastline. So and then we usually go down, diving or fishing or in the Keys or.
Which breed is Dexter?
What's that?
Which breed?
He's a Dutch Shepherd, and I would say most every dog from that genre is going to be either a German Shepherd, which I know are kind of being phased out in favor of both the Belgian Malinois and the Dutch Shepherd, which is essentially the same breed, different color scheme. The Dutch Shepherds generally are like a brindle, like a dark color with fine gold hair in there, and the same attributes. So yeah.
We've got a friend of the show, Joseph Garcia, senior team leader Joseph Garcia, who's with US CSOG is what it used to be. I can't ever remember what the new name of the thing is, but they deal with the correctional facilities and riots and things like that. And he does them all over the world. Do you know Joseph? You met him?
I've heard his name before for sure. I think I've seen his photo.
Yeah, they use the giant schnauzers.
Oh, do they really?
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, they're pretty awesome dogs. But, I'll have to introduce you guys.
Yeah, do that, man. I love them, man. I mean, like I said, we had dog handlers when I was in that would, do a lot of bomb detection and bite work. And I always respected those guys. I just didn't know how hard they had to work because you got to pay attention to what these dogs are doing at all times,
Oh, yeah.
My
Dog,
kids,
dog.
my kids have softened him up, but he's still a working dog. So
Yeah. Well, very cool. So I don't know what we were talking about, but
we were
that's
talking
what
about.
we do on this show. We chase squirrels. We go on tangents. Yeah,
I think we were talking about you were talking about New Mexico. Florida's not doing that. In fact, Naples, where we're going to drop Dexter off with Coastline, is famous and had been in the news even during the height of COVID for no masks. You know, the
Tennessee is that way also, except for Nashville.
Yeah,
they have a liberal mayor in Nashville, and I'm sure the mask mandates are probably going on in that. I just haven't been, so I don't know. But I know around here in the town I live in, which is just outside of Nashville, you know, there's no mask mandate. You can walk around like a normal human being and interact and engage with people in restaurants and stores, and you know, not be a puppet.
Now, that being said, Disney World was still doing the mask mandates, and we were getting yelled at for dropping it below the nose. They didn't like that when we were there. I was there with my kids last spring. So,
you know, that's the thing on airlines too.
Yeah.
And they're hit or miss. It just depends on if you've got a liberal flight crew or, you know, more conservative. And I noticed that on the flights out there and the flights back, whether they would chastise me for not, because I wouldn't wear my mask. I would not put my mask on unless somebody of power or whatever, you know, that was in charge actually came and told me to do it. I wouldn't do it. And there were some other people that did that too, but the whole flight, I think there was just one flight where there was a mask Nazi on the flight, and you know, she was just constant on people about get that over your thing and take a bite, put your mask back on, take a drink, put your mask back on.
Yeah, like they don't have enough to do already, you know. Jeez.
Yeah, exactly. You know, it's just people who in real life have no power, and this is their one chance to exert a little Nazism.
Yeah.
A little Gestapoism. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Until people just say no, they're going to keep doing it. It's ridiculous.
I don't know, Lefty. At this rate, you're going to be a hero for that on Talking Lead. So I'm not sure.
No, I mean, that's the majority of our listeners. You know, we're preaching to the choir here.
Yeah.
But you gotta back up your actions and your beliefs. You know, you can't just talk it and not do it. You have to actually do it. And you know, I do. So I just wish more people would do it, and then we would have less of this nonsense going on.
On that note, we're prepping the week after next to head to SHOT Show in Las Vegas.
Oh,
it was canceled last year, and I'm going obviously on behalf of my company.
I'm surprised it hasn't canceled this year.
Well, they just sent out notice through the email that, hey, we are requiring masks in all venues, the Venetian, and now they have added a kind of a walkway across to Caesar's Palace.
Yeah, they expanded of all things.
So that being said, I was really dismayed to hear that, because, you know, last thing you want to do is wear a mask 8 hours a day.
I'm not going.
In a row.
I'm not going. I'm not feeding the fire, you know.
Yeah, I got to do it, man. I got to do it. I'm up to like 15 meetings over there relevant to the business and the book, and obviously Dexter's wearing all kinds of flashy new gear for that trip over there. But
I just see it being a shit show because the majority of the people that go to that, you know, have the same beliefs, and it's going to be a constant battle between the people enforcing it and the people not wearing their mask at that thing. I think
I'll send you.
It's going to be a field day for the news media.
Yeah.
But I mean, unless something changes, I'm not planning on going. I'm not going as to set up the show and do the show. Definitely not. I mean, if I go, I might go just to see the shit show that ensues. But
well, you better look me up. I just sent you a photo to your email of Dexter featured. I think that was featured actually at Suffolk. I don't think that was at SHOT Show, but he will be at SHOT Show in similar kit. So he's got all his high-tech canine stuff on there. If you
let me share my screen here for those that are watching on the video. And I'll hit the right button in a second. Boom. There he is.
There he is, man, all decked out. So he'll be doing it in black this year. He's got black multicam vest by Cerebus K9. The helmet will be black by K9 Helm, and then he'll have the Mohawk camera and all that good stuff on him. We'll be walking around SHOT Show, making our booth visits. So
you need to do one. It's like red, white, and blue America. You know, that would be awesome.
So that being said, one of your guests from shows prior, Jack Carr, in 2019, we did kind of a K9 demonstration for Rescue 22, which is actually attached in semblance to Coastline K9, because one of the founders started Coastline K9. It was one of the founders of Rescue 22, but they did a K9 demonstration at what booth was it? I think it was can't remember what booth it was, but Jack Carr was there.
Yeah.
They suited Jack Carr up in a bite suit and let one of the dogs have at him. So yeah, it was a good time.
I'm sure he ate that up. I'm sure he enjoyed that.
Yeah, it was a good time. Eagle Industries was the booth we were at.
Eagle Imports or Eagle Industries?
Eagle Industries, yeah. Because
okay.
they make K9 vests as well as a host of other, hard goods. And yeah, we got good footage of it. Chuck Liddell was there for that.
Chuck is at all the events, all the gun events these days. He's at SHOT Show. He's at NRA when they have it, I guess. He was at this one in Georgia that I was at earlier last year. It was down in Georgia. I can't remember the town, but it was the Big Daddy Unlimited shoot that they had down there. He was there. Haven't had him on the show yet, but I've talked to him several times at the event. He was actually in one morning we were riding to the range, and he was in our van that we were riding over there in.
Yeah, man.
Just a normal dude, man. He's a good dude. I mean, you can tell he's a little punch drunk, but he's taken some hits over the years.
Yeah, it was a great one, man. It got a lot of attention, so everybody lined up to see the dogs go try to tear
Jack Carr. That's funny.
Yeah,
looking forward to his TV thing that's coming out. With Chris. What's his name? Chris Pratt. Yeah, Chris Pratt. Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh, Jack's a big deal now, man.
He is.
Yeah,
I'm humbled when he responds to my messages, so I feel fortunate. Very fortunate to have him on the show too, because he is a busy man. It's tough for him. He's got his own podcast and everything. So
does.
But that that's due to a good book that he wrote. And speaking of, let's kind of transition into that. We want to talk about your book, A Failed State. And let's kind of talk about how first, give everybody a little bit of background about yourself. And we did it, but how you got into writing.
Yeah. So I, and it's can be considered a sad story, but I was on my 21st deployment for OGA. A lot of guys that I deployed with were, former SOF guys, a lot of guys that had been in service and, fighting for their country for a long time. And unfortunately with that comes a myriad of family and marital issues. And you're reminded of that quite a bit. My wife, notwithstanding, suffered from depression and alcoholism, and unfortunately, between my 21st and 22nd deployment, she passed away. So dealing with that, I had to become the sole parent of 3 little kids at the time, separate obviously from my unit, at least for the time being. And one of the ways that I coped with it, and I felt was best at coping with it, was to write. And I decided to do that through advice of a couple of guys that were Navy veterans, was to write an autobiography. And I didn't even have an intention of publishing that thing, man. I just wrote it to really self-heal. So after writing that, I decided that I could help a lot of people that might be in my shoes, lessons learned type stuff, right? By publishing it. And when I did, I had to submit a copy of it to a publications review board for my agency. And they, and I wish I had a copy of that here, they redacted so much of it, it looked like black marks.
Yeah. You know, I've heard that from Jack. You know, he talked about that. Clint Emerson talked about that. Several other people that I've had on the show too. I mean, that's what they do, because they don't want you getting that information out there. Right. Even though like 98% of it is public record anyway.
Yep, you got that right. And Jack actually had to deal with the DOD, which was worse than, you know, than my organization, believe it or not, which is hard to believe. But I was having a hard time with that at first, but
and they seem to be tougher on the autobiographies than they do the.
Oh yeah, big time. No Easy Day is a good example of that, right? Where he pushed that book out about his lifestyle and some of the tribulations that he went through, and without even, you know, pushing it through the DOD, and they were really upset. And I don't know what transpired around that. I would imagine there's probably some, you know, wrist slapping going on there. But I decided just to write fiction because I could easily change names, slightly change locations, events, and I could actually have some pretty good creative autonomy, right? Because now I could write, instead of one character's viewpoints and everything, I could kind of combine several people into one character, because like I said, a lot of these guys are having problems downrange with custody battles for children and you know, holding their marriages together. And I could write about that, not in a direct way, but almost in a conversational way between the characters, and, you know, how do we deal with this? And this is the bullshit I got going on at home. Or you can even bring it internal, right? And have these characters think about it internally. So when I presented that manuscript to the Publications Review Board, they greenlighted it. You know, they had a couple redactions here and there, but by and large, they greenlighted it. So I launched it right before SHOT Show in 2018. And that's when Rogan, it was mentioned on Joe Rogan, because a buddy of mine who is a former case officer, you know, clandestine operations officer for the same organization, went on his show and just happened to bring the book with him and mentioned it. So it got.
What was his name?
His name was Mike. Oh, for crying out loud! You put me on the spot, man.
I'll edit. I'll make it sound seamless.
No, he's a big deal now.
Mike, yeah, that's not.
Yeah, geez, hang on.
He's been on a couple times, hasn't he?
Yeah, I think so. And he's got his own show now, talking about like alien technology and anomalies.
Yeah, I love it when they talk about that kind of stuff on Rogan's show. That's when I really get into Rogan's show. I don't really care about any of that. The comedians and shit that he has on, I don't really care about that stuff.
Yeah, let me.
When he gets into conspiracy theories and aliens and all that.
Mike Baker.
That's it, Mike Baker. Yeah.
So Mike mentioned the book on the show, and holy cow, the sales were off to the races right before SHOT Show 2018. And I was scheduled to do a book signing for in front of the Eberly stock booth. And I was just inundated. You know, I got a lot more attention that SHOT Show with that book than I did for Relapse the following year, because of the attention Joe Rogan brought it. So. And it got reviewed on Guns and Tactics. It got a really positive review on Guns and Tactics. Recoil Web did a segment on it. So, there's not too much about that book that's far from the truth, but there is obviously places and names changed. And then the problems, like I said, that the main character has is an amalgamation of what I dealt with, guys on my team, what they dealt with, both downrange and at home. And
do you think that the government, you know, those review boards are so tough on military authors because of the negativity maybe that it sheds on the military, the lifestyle, you know, with the marital problems, the alcoholism, the drug abuse that can sometimes accompany that and go along with it? You think that's maybe why they're so strict on the autobiographies, the biography type stuff, rather than the fiction?
I think something's in the mix there.
Because they just don't want, they don't want to be, they don't want that getting out that, that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sheds a lot of light on that are friends of mine that run Hunter 7. It's an organization. You've probably heard of them. They're big on Instagram, and they shed a lot of light on, issues that I even dealt with, right? Downrange, all kinds of stuff, hormone deficiency, anxiety, PTSD. They also talk a lot about burn pits and the health ramifications from burn pits, because shoot, we were around burn pits all the time. They were burning, name it, they were burning it,
Yeah. You see that in those, the movies and the TV shows that they do, where they, the shitters, he's talking about the shitters where they burn the latrine stuff. And, that's like the worst duty to get. And they're wearing these masks and they, everything to do it. That's how toxic that shit is.
Well, I'll tell you what, man, I would rather be around fumes from burning shitters than some of the stuff that they, the shit was included. But I remember one AO that we left because we weren't technically supposed to be there in 2011, end of 2011. And, we just literally drove some of the trucks that we had there into the burn pit as it was burning. We kind of rode those trucks right in the burn pits and started burning everything because, what we couldn't put on a C-17, we had to get rid of. And there was only limited space. So they were, blowing everything in place and burning.
Let me ask you this. With the Biden mass exodus, over there in the Middle East and leaving all that equipment behind and not doing that, what's your opinion on all that?
Well, so I spent a lot of time in Afghanistan. In fact, 2012 to 2015 was exclusive in many different parts of Afghanistan. You name it: Jalalabad, Bagram, Kabul, Herat. So I've been all over that country quite a bit, and the drawdown was just so fast, right, that there was just no way logistically to ever take that stuff out or even blow it in place. I just don't think that they had the manpower to do it, and they had to leave a lot of it behind. The theory about leaving it behind was that, hey, our Afghan partners will use it, right? I mean, that was the theory. And hey, man, I worked with some good guys. The Afghan SOF guys, some of them were solid operators.
Yeah.
I mean, they were trained by the best, whether it was agency trained or trained by the special operations guys. These guys were the tip of the spear in the last 3-4 years of the war. They were the ones kicking the doors, going in, grabbing the bad guys, doing sensitive site exploitation for intel, and then doing follow-up.
So why wouldn't they have gathered those people and just say, here, take this stuff, instead of just where she lays is where she stays, and first come, first serve?
Yeah, but a lot of that stuff does need maintenance. The weapons, probably you get away with doing it yourself, figuring out how to do it yourself. The ammo certainly can be expended. So that's unfortunate, but I
don't think they don't have mechanics. They got mechanics there. They can fix that shit. They got money. They can get on Amazon and order parts just like we can.
True. I've seen some Afghans do rig up some pretty crazy stuff, to change a tire or do what have you. But
they're not the backward ass, mountain billy goat herding people that people think they are. Yeah, they have those, but the people that are taking over that country are smart, educated people.
Well, I hope not.
Well, they are, and that's the fact of it.
Yeah, we were actually supposed to.
It may not be them, but it's the people that are behind them.
Yeah.
The Russians, Chinese.
Well, true. And I know the country's changed quite a bit. We were actually supposed to go back to Kabul to help rescue Americans. That effort. Pineapple is the task force I'm referring to, but right as we were about to punch out, I got sick with COVID, and I wanted to see how much the country had changed just in the couple weeks worth, because I was flying into Kabul all the time, and that city is right up against the airfield. Now, if you were talking about Bagram's got hundreds of miles of standoff, And that's probably the safest airfield to operate at. So I have no idea why the last airport that was going to be used for a withdrawal would have been Kabul. It's just such a dangerous.
There's some political reason why they did that.
Yeah.
Unbeknownst to us.
Yeah, weird, man. Just weird.
That whole situation, there was something else behind it.
Yeah. Anyway, in my book.
Anyway, back to the book.
In my book, Kabul is the location, a primary location for most of the book, and I got intimate knowledge with that city, and
so just real high, high level, so people will go obviously and read the book. What is it about?
So the main character's name is Damien Collins, and Damien suffers from severe anxiety. He's got a custody battle for his daughter because he's hardly ever at home. Stuff that guys deal with all the time over there. And he wants to be an asset to the team, and the team he's on is an intel collection team. They feed intel to the guys like, DevGru, SEAL Team 6 that kick the doors and get the bad guys. And they work hand in hand with a lot of those SOF teams. And he is literally trying to hold his shit together and function as an asset because he's addicted to the risk, like a lot of guys are. I mean, hell, I got guys that can't quit. And they're, like I said, they're in their 50s now, some of them, and these guys don't want to stop deploying to some of these AOs, Syria, Yemen, places like that, because.
And why would they stop?
Well, I think it, like Hunter 7 talks about, I think there's a huge paycheck for or bill, sorry, I should say bill for operations over there, man. You start to lose your health, your marriage suffers, your relationship with your children suffers.
Yeah.
That's your
side of the aspect why they would.
Yeah, and that's a shit show for a lot of guys. In fact, I knew some guys around their third and fourth marriages, and they're only in their 30s because they were just like, hey, I want to be, I want to have a positive relationship when I turn with somebody, but the wives they were with were like, yeah, I'm not dealing with this shit anymore.
Yeah.
And it's got its ups and downs and stuff, but the book talks a lot about this guy wanting to be, a force for his country and to still serve in that capacity. And he's going over there and working these, high profile secret missions and doing what he can. And he's going back and battling for the custody of his daughter. So the guys in his immediate company are all based on real people. In fact, Loki was a guy that I deployed with, same call sign on the team I was on. And Loki, suffered some of the same issues, right? PTSD, which I believe he still probably has issues with, unresolved.
It doesn't ever go away. It's just
not unless you get the right therapy. Yeah, not unless you get the right therapy. And a lot of guys don't want to do that because what it does is it highlights the issue that they might not be a dependable team member, right? Yeah, so they just internalize it. And happens a lot over there, man. So the book's a good mix of that and action, all the discussions about, PTSD, anxiety, marital problems, all that stuff's done internally between the characters or thought about by the main character. So it's not something that I force on my readers, right? It just alludes to it as this guy tries to deal with, his responsibility to his team and to the country and stuff like that. And, it took a couple of really good experiences that I had doing operations and then supporting operations, some of which were pretty high profile and threw them in the book to make it exciting, and a lot of military jargon. So again,
do you have like a thing in the back of your book that people can refer to for that?
No, but I try to, because how the military is huge on acronyms. I try to spell out all the acronyms as best I can and explain
on the initial, and then you run with it.
And try to explain it in a cursory attempt, right? At least so that people kind of get the gist of it. But hey, man, I grew up reading Tom Clancy, and that's what Tom did. Tom just threw all the high tech stuff in there, and he's like, if you don't get it, sorry.
There's this thing called a dictionary on the internet nowadays. You can.
Yeah, but the second book, Relapse, which is a continuation of A Failed State, it it softens that a little bit, and goes into more in depth of the character development and all that stuff. And
I
then,
like the technical,
yeah, me
books
too.
that get into the technical stuff, and then just it doesn't say he used a knife or he pulled his pistol, or they talk his SIG B226 custom trigger by blah blah blah.
Well, hey man, that's the stuff you and I love, so it's hard not to talk about, right?
Yeah, well, and that's the people that are going to read this book too. The majority of them are going to understand that, or they're going to want to know what it is, and they'll look it up, and it's not going to detract from the story itself. But it sounds like a good book. I've not read it yet. We were just recently introduced, so
yeah.
I've been on a kick with some other books. Just the Jack Carr stuff. Just was rushing to get all that Clint stuff. Reading his books, getting caught up, and then I got this new one. I was trying to find it. I had a copy of it over here somewhere. Here it is. Nicholas Orr. Have you heard of Nicholas Orr?
I haven't, man. I haven't.
So Nicholas Orr, he's got this book called The Operator. So I'm reading this series of books now. My good buddy Paul Markle turned me on to this, so I'm in the process of reading this. It's pretty good stuff. Good book so far. He gets a little detailed in the romance parts of them, though, and so I get a little uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Reading that stuff. So
yeah. I didn't have much time for that. A lot of these guys are married in the book, but if you like The Operator, you'd like my stuff for sure.
You're not gonna have a lot romance stuff.
No, there's some strong female characters, and there's definitely some relational shit. But Jack Carr's got a copy of my book. He's so busy. I bet you he hasn't had a chance to.
Oh, I bet he has. He's a reader, man. He's always.
Yeah, but it's the same type of genre that Jack writes. It's just not. It's more based in realism, stuff that I've experienced. Yeah. I know Jack integrates that into his books, but it's all based on a fictional premise.
That's the great thing about it, is it's not him, because he's him and you, and people need to break from that. Right. That's why I like checking out different authors' books. And we got Stephen Hunter coming up. You know who Stephen Hunter is?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, so he wrote. I can't remember what the actual name of the book is, but The Shooter, the movie Shooter.
Yep.
Marky Mark. Yeah, he writes that series of books. So he's got a new one coming out. It'll be SHOT Show, I think, is when he's actually going to release it. So we're going to have him on the week before, which is next week. He's going to be talking about his new book, which I don't have a copy of it because I sent it to Brian. For you listeners who know Brian with Occam Defense Solutions, he's into those things too. So I sent him my copy because it's not out yet, and he's going to co-host with me. So that'll be a good, interesting interview as well.
Yeah,
but
I like guys who can write about their experience for sure. So
yeah, and he's a completely different writer than Tom Clancy or Jack Carr or and that, or Nicholas Orr, and that's what I like, because I don't like reading the same thing over and over again. Everybody's got their own little twist and way to tell a story, and that's what's really enjoyable about it. So I'm looking forward to checking out yours, A Failed State. Do you have a copy of it you could hold up there?
Right up here, man.
Yeah, put a little closer to the camera for our.
Yeah, I gotta. How's that?
There it is, A Failed State.
Yeah, and there's some reviews on the back, and.
And you've got a website for this.
I do.
afailedstate.com.
afailedstate.com, and both books are available under products or books, I think is the way that works. Right next to all my buddies' Black Rifle Coffee offerings here up there on top of the shelf. But yeah.
Little Black Rifle. I like their AK blend.
Yeah, I've got that somewhere here.
I actually don't drink coffee, but the people that I've shared it with like it. So.
AK Espresso. Yeah, that's right around the other shelf here. In fact, he supports my business, not the book side, but the training side, because we have so many different agencies in here that he wants those guys drinking Black Rifle for free. So we make that available to them when they come in.
They opened up one just down the road here in Tennessee in Manchester. No,
nice. Yeah,
Manchester.
Yeah.
Yeah, just down the road here. I haven't been to that one yet. I've been to the one in Salt Lake City. I've been to that one with Jeff Kirkham. Went up there to see him at Ready Man, and
Yeah.
at the time, that's where Paul Markle was too, with Student of the Gun. But I don't think they're in that building anymore.
That is making its way here too, because I just talked to them. They've got a little bit of moratorium while they straighten out their operations, and then they're going to be open a couple in northern Idaho, and then making their way down to Meridian and some of the more conservative communities, suburbs around Boise.
Yeah, it was really cool getting a tour of the place, and him telling how they do the process of the roasting, and really what I found interesting is how they source their beans, where they come from and how they get them, and the trials and tribulations they go through for that. It was pretty cool.
Well, that's what I'll be doing in at SHOT Show between meetings is walking around with walking around with Andy from Black Rifle Coffee. He's their social media guy. Andy's former MARSOC, great dude, and good friend of mine. In fact, me and Andy and the lead character in my book, Loki, who I'll leave it at that, Loki, went out to see Mike Jones, who is known as Garan Thumb, out in Joint Base Lewis McCord, worked out in the gym, and then went out to his range and shot a bunch of different rifles. So
yeah. Let's do this. Let's do. I want to talk about the forward movement training company that you have. We're gonna do that, but first, I've got this segment that we call the new guy, and sometimes a girl questions. It's just a segment that's designed for our listeners to get to know you a little better on a personal level.
You bet.
So the first question is, and obviously we know this, your military law enforcement background. You talked a little bit about that. Talk about the most fulfilling aspect in that segment of your career.
That's an easy one, man. I think the most fulfilling aspect was just working with guys with such advanced pedigrees in special operations. I mean, a lot of these guys had done, anywhere from a minimum of 4 to 10 years in pretty high-speed units, Ranger battalions, special forces, SEAL teams, what have you. And then they transitioned into this job where now we're doing, support for intelligence activities in support of even higher speed organizations like CAG and DevGru that are kicking doors and stuff like that. So being around these guys is addictive. And we talked about that addiction level, right? We talked about guys that just want to belong to something that meaningful, and that's why they're constantly deploying. And I can tell you why, is because you get around guys like this, and I'm experiencing it in some limited amounts here as running this company. You get around guys that are just type A personality, that have their stuff squared away, that when you put them into a situation, they're mission focused, right? Man, being around guys, you get a huge contact high.
Yeah.
Like that. And you emulate that, right? So I become a better man at getting my shit done, at being responsible, at, being a force for good, than I ever have just by being in that kind of company.
Yeah.
So
like
definitely,
that.
Yeah.
So what was are you from Idaho?
No, actually, believe it or not, I grew up Irish Southside Chicago is where I was born and raised. I got out of there as soon as I was 18, but because I had enough of Chicago. But when I talk about Irish Southside, anybody that's ever heard of or been to Southie in Boston, Bridgeport's a lot like that. So you fight your way through everything. Communities are very segregated, but the Irish there are, pretty destitute, pretty poor community, but working class, you know what I mean? So the kids would just fight. You just fight everybody, fight people, that fight people you don't know, that come into your neighborhood and stuff. And just a different upbringing. But my dad was an educator, so he's like, you're not going to live like that. And, you're going to go to college like I did, and we're going to get out of here. And so I was in Arizona shortly after high school graduation, spent a lot of summers growing up in northern Michigan, believe it or not, which is pretty rural, at a Boy Scout camp, working at Boy Scout
and everything.
Yeah. Yeah, getting my dad made me get my Eagle Scout, so when all my buddies were drinking and chasing girls at 16, I was cleaning gutters out of churches. So he wasn't gonna let that go. So Eagle Scout or nothing. But yeah, it worked out.
Nice.
Yeah.
What is your earliest recollection of shooting a firearm?
So that's a great segue, man. So yeah. So Boy Scout camp, shot 22s when I was, 12, 10, 11, 12.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Mark,
back so you got exposure through the Scouts.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's changed a lot. I imagine it has.
Yeah.
On marksmanship. They were big on it.
Yeah. They did that when I was in the Scouts. I remember when my dad was a Scout master, and
God, I hope they're doing it still, man. I don't know.
I think they are. I really don't. I just, when they let the women in, the girls, it just, it's a whole different animal these days.
Yeah, it is for sure.
Somebody should start a new Boy Scouts. Not call it Boy Scouts, but call it something else. But the philosophy and the goals and everything that they were teaching back then. They're teaching boys to be men.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just don't think they're doing that anymore. It's sad.
Not so much.
Teaching boys how to be men. Now they're teaching girls how to be men.
and dominate, and then the reverse is happening, and they're dominating all the girl sports, right?
Oh my gosh, how ridiculous!
Go down the wormhole on that one.
And it's so obvious what these people are doing. It's like, I'm not man enough. I'm not athletic enough to make it in a male sport. So I'm going to say I'm a female and just go over here and just dominate. Some of them don't even dominate in the women's in the women's sports. It's sad. Anyway, we'll move from that.
Sure.
The 22? What was the first firearm that you could call your own, that you actually went out and spent your own money on?
So my dad obviously gifted me a 22 long rifle, right? So I had a 22 long rifle for a while, and I didn't really own a firearm until I got out of college. And when I did that, I bought a Ruger 9mm, which I ended up hating. I'm not saying anything about Ruger, but it didn't fit me.
It's not right for you.
Yeah.
The way I liken it is like a pair of shoes.
Right.
I can't wear Nikes, even though, I've always wanted a pair of Nikes. And, but, back when you're in high school, you didn't have Nikes, you were a nerd or whatever, but they just didn't fit my feet. They didn't feel good, and I can't wear them. So I don't buy Nike. Nothing against Nike.
Well, the Nikes to me were and I carried it obviously all the way through federal law enforcement and obviously downrange for OGA was the Glock 17. So I was, really, I'm still really partial to Glocks. I know a lot of people hate them.
A lot of people love them too, though.
Yeah.
A lot of people love them.
Yeah, right. So man. So that for me, that's the one. Now I own a ton of them because running a training company, we've got to be able to run and gun with some of these units that have some pretty good outfits, and we've got relationships with Glock, with primary weapon systems, with just a lot of B&T. I mean, a lot of HKs, a lot of folks. So it's hard to have just one favorite. I like using everything for sure. So,
when you buy a new Glock, what's the first thing that you modify? What's the first aftermarket accessory that you mod on it?
Well, I think it's just the host of it, right? It's like buying a truck. You're going to get shocks, wheels, and tires, right? And for me, it's it's going to get stippled if it doesn't have that already. It's going to get a tack light, generally a Surefire, and then of course it's going to get a custom slide, and then a trigger, and then.
Are you getting an aftermarket slide, or are you having someone?
I usually have somebody mill it.
Yeah.
I know quite a few people now that do it. I usually have somebody mill it, but because I need to do it anyway for the optic that I run, and I run a bunch of different optics, but it's the host of things, man. I can't stop at just one thing, because if I were to buy a new truck and just get windows tinted, wouldn't feel like a new truck unless you bought all the accoutrements for it.
The brush guards and the lights and
Yeah.
So I was going to ask you another question about the Glock. I can't. Oh, so what gen or Glock are you prefer? Do you prefer?
So
Gen 5s?
Yeah,
Gen
by and large, Gen 5s.
I didn't like the Gen 4s at all. For some reason, I just didn't.
I still have one. It's a home defense gun, so I've got an old tack light on it and a extended mag, but I use it as a home defense weapon. The 5s is the one I take to the range, and the one I carry.
You still use the full size, or are you doing the 19s on those?
I've reduced to 19s. A lot of guys love the 17 custom 17s.
Yeah,
they love those things, man. But not me. All the agency guys carry all the case officers, the analysts. They all carry the 19s, and I was jealous because the 17s would dig into your side when you got into a beef, especially an up arm.
Jab your nuts if you're appendix carrying.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely a 19, and it's customized, from top to bottom, man.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
You have it there? Can you hold it up?
I do not. I've got a whole wall of Glock simulator guns in the other room that we use.
We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about simulator training.
Yeah.
I want to talk about that. When it comes to pop culture, what is your go-to to just kick back, relax, go into your own world, whether it's a movie, TV, music, a book, social media stuff?
I'm forced to be addicted to Instagram, and I've got an interesting story about TikTok, but forced to be addicted to Instagram. Although I have people doing both my book site and my company site, because they're two different sites, and I've got my own personal, which is friends and family that I do, and I don't contribute there much to it. But for a while, my daughter, who is only 12, was doing all our TikToks for forward movement training. And what we were doing, it was the coolest stick ever. And we hit like 20,000 followers in like a matter of like a month at one point, is we were reviewing security footage and commenting on what we would do differently.
Critiquing it. That's cool. Yeah.
TikTok did not like that. They didn't like any of the footage. If there was violence involved, if there was the implication of violence, even if there was an accident, because I think one was an aviation accident, it was a helicopter that was hit by a delivery truck as it was schooling, and nobody got hurt, but it damaged the aircraft. They banned that for content as well. So that was my guy. I was really into that, man. I was getting so many comments, and people were loving it.
Other outlets like Twitch, couldn't you do like Twitch or something?
Yeah, probably could. I think when you get banned and they just basically suspend your account, I think it really tends to make you feel like slighted, like if somebody stole stuff out of your car. What I mean? So,
I've never done TikTok anyway, so I'm not really familiar with how they do things. I haven't done Twitch either. But what about like Instagram? They let you do videos and stuff like that. That would be a good little thing on Instagram to do critiques.
So, that's already done by a couple of good friends of mine. Byron Rogers is a friend of mine that does quite a bit of that. Yusuf Badu, who's a former Marine that runs a situational awareness training company, does quite a bit of that. It just seems like it's a little overdone. And I know, who I know as well from Fieldcraft Survival, they're doing that quite a bit too.
Okay.
I feel
believe it or not, I don't follow the social medias that much unless it's a friend of mine or sponsor or somebody of the show. I don't.
And it's
search out stuff on the social media, so I wouldn't know any of that stuff. Just sound like a good idea though.
It's exhausting, man. It's exhausting doing that stuff and producing it and all that, man. I'm telling you. So
my time is better spent talking to people like you.
Yeah, perfect.
Having you on the show, definitely. Yeah. So what is your next want to have when you've got the money, you're going to go out and you're buying it?
I think that's going to firmly rest in the AK. Yeah. And I say that because I've got, half a dozen AR variants, different modifications, different barrel lengths. different componentry. And the one thing I've never owned, even though I almost bought a Tanso, which is a Polish AK variant, back in the day for like, I thought it was too much money at the time. This was back when I was deploying for $270 is what it was selling for on, can't remember the site.
Those were the days.
Oh, gosh. I just feel like that would have been just a great buy. But now I want a full custom one, but I guess they're going for a lot of money.
They can. Yeah, they definitely can. I'll introduce you to Brian at Occam Defense Solutions.
Yeah, do that.
They make some really nice AKs.
Yeah, do that, because I've been talking to guys that feature them. Bandito Bill is a guy that
he's been on the show.
Yeah, you know,
had Bill on the show.
Example, you know, here's a guy that's made the transition from airsoft to the real thing, man. So there is hope.
Yeah, he came from China too.
Yeah, awesome guy. Awesome guy.
He was, I think he was like 12 or something. I can't remember how old he was, but you know, his family moved over to the United States and you know, living the dream.
Yeah, I love that American dream story, man. That's super encouraging, you know. And I'll tell you what.
I just wish they made it easier for actual Americans nowadays.
Yeah. Well, immigrants do a great job, man. The previous owner of my company.
I got no problem with immigrants, you know.
Yeah, I know. The previous owner of my company went to go work for a guy that immigrated, Bedros Koulian. You probably heard his name. He immigrated from
Coolio.
Yeah, Eastern Bloc, and he runs kind of a SEAL training for civilians out in Southern California. You know, level up your business, your life, your marriage.
Yeah. All right. So what is your? So did we actually talk about what your go-to?
Yeah. We talked
social media. is that your go-to?
Yeah.
So what's your favorite movie?
To be honest with you, man, having worked with Mark Geist from Secret Soldiers of Benghazi, I like that show, man. That was one of my favorite shows, and I think that Michael Bay did an outstanding job on that movie, because not only was all the equipment in it, and I know because I did that job, but not only was all that equipment in that movie legit, it was all used properly. I mean, Mark and all those guys went over there and acted as subject matter experts.
Yeah. Talking about 13 Hours, the movie. Yep. 13 Hours. Yeah, it's one of my favorite movies too.
And I just
had Chris on the show.
Oh yeah,
a few times. Yeah, he's been on, and Boone was actually on. He didn't ever say anything. But,
oh really? I don't know Boone. I know Mark really well. You know, we did some business together for a while, and I supported his helped support his non-for-profit for a bit, and I just really
story there, you know, tragic story. Right. Guys who haven't seen 13 Hours, you know, is about the Benghazi attacks on our consulate there, and
I'm waiting for Jack's
tragedy of the administration at the time that could have intervened, but they didn't.
I'm waiting for Jack's movie to Amazon series to kick off, man.
Yeah, man, I am too. I can't wait. I don't know what the holdup is. What are they waiting on? It's got to be done by now.
I think Chris Pratt's a great American, you know, and good actor. So
yeah, to represent, to be in that business, you know, that world, you know, where guns and Second Amendment and even the First Amendment sometimes is so looked down upon, for him to and our military men and women to support them in the way that he does, you know, it's rare, because usually you got to have somebody who's but he's reached that level now. I mean, he's superstar now, so you know, he's reached that level where you can tell him to suck off and
right. Yeah, we need more of that. We need more of those guys.
Self-sufficient kind of dude. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Speaking of, what are your? And I have to ask this, because this is something that I promised the listeners that I would not give up on and I would keep following, is the Alec Baldwin situation. What's your thoughts on that? Are you familiar? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, You ever seen the Will Smith video where there's a table full of guns and they're talking about the guns they're going to use in some production, and one of the guys picks it up and flags everybody with the barrel, even though they're all safed and cleared? You ever seen that video? And he grabs it out of the guy's hand, he checks the chamber, and basically makes sure the mag isn't in it, and then hands it back to the guy.
Yeah.
I mean, say what you will about actors. There's a lot of them that are being pushed through in wake of John Wick through that firearms training facility in Southern California. And I met the guy, and I'm trying to think of his name. It's eluding me.
Yeah, he's been on the show. I've had him on the show.
Yeah, met him at SHOT Show.
Taryn Tactical.
Taryn.
Taryn Tactical. Taryn Butler. All right, Taryn Butler.
Taryn takes guys and he turns them into just firearms, gurus, because he's big on that. And if you've ever watched any John Wick, the handling is impeccable, right? And you don't get that in Hollywood. You don't get the proper handling. There's always that, right? It always sounds like they just rack their gun whenever they point at somebody. And I'm like, that doesn't sound like that. You know what I mean?
They'll rack it before they go in, and then they'll rack it again.
Oh, well, they'll just use that sound as if it racked itself, when they pointed at somebody. So at the end of the day, man, I think that Baldwin has nobody to blame but himself, because if he's going to use a gun, as he has in a lot of his movies, right, then he needed to get the safety training to go with that. And Taryn won't let any of those actors get away with it without proper safety techniques and usage. So, did
you watch the interview that he did with George Snuffleupagus?
No.
Okay, you should watch that.
I should. Well, I saw excerpts from it.
You'll be yelling at the screen.
Yeah. That's why I don't watch it, stuff like that, man.
He says he never pulled the trigger, which I can buy that. But it's a wheel gun, and it's trigger. It's all the trigger is the mechanism. He said he pulled the trigger back.
Yeah, whatever.
And in the West, they modified them to where you wouldn't have to pull. You just you could operate the hammer.
Right.
The hammer is what sets ignites the bullet. And by releasing it and not fully cocking it to where it locks and you release it, then that's potential to. But yet he will not take any responsibility whatsoever for that.
Of course not, man. Of course he will not. We all know.
It just stepped up in the beginning and just took some responsibility.
Well, they're using it as a platform, Lefty, for anti-gun stuff. I mean, it was.
He's anti-gun anyway. Yeah, I mean, he's huge at. But now that he's the person who pulled the trigger, although he didn't pull the trigger, he operated the hammer. He's still deflecting it. But I apologize, guys. I haven't done an update on where that story is. I just Googled it and just trying to see anything, because it's kind of died down over the holiday. Which I guarantee you that's what he wanted to happen, but we're not going to let this die. We're going to keep stoking this flame, because this douchebag needs to be held accountable, along with a lot of other people, because there are, levels that this should have never reached due to movie sets. And I'm familiar with movie sets because, like I said, my girlfriend's in the business, she works in it, and I'm pretty familiar. And this live rounds on set, and this guy checked it, and this guy checked it, and this guy checked it. Well, should have never happened.
Yeah, I agree. In fact, that's what I do for a living now, man, is we train everybody from civilians to law enforcement to military, and that safety portion's huge, even working with the law enforcement agents yesterday, we still get them on the line. We still check all their systems to make sure they're using either simunitions or, sometimes we use airsoft for non-lethal live fire. And
well, I mean, even in that environment, it's even more critical and crucial that you make sure there's no real ammo.
Or flash bangs or anything, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So here's the 4 hours ago, just back to the Alec thing real quick. I guess Hilaria is his wife, and Alec Baldwin are so grateful after their cat is healed from car accident. That's an actual headline. Oh my gosh.
Anything to deflect.
Deflect. Yeah, this guy so deserves to go to jail. All right, let's move on. New guy questions. Enough about Alec Baldwin. So money be damned. No. I think I asked you, what's the next thing you're going to buy? If you had the opportunity right now, what's the next thing you go out and you would buy?
Well, I get a lot of stuff
on your bucket list.
As I'm sure you do for free. I get a lot of stuff for free as long as it goes on social media and it gets honorable mention. So
I make no guarantees. I make no guarantees. People who send me shit know that.
So I've been blessed, obviously, as a company owner as well, to get everything from the latest night vision. And I'm telling you this right now, some of the latest night vision out there, which I have transacted for a federal agency, even has some thermal capabilities now, as well as a heads-up display for stuff like frequencies and grid coordinates.
Yeah.
So I get to play with a lot of stuff for free. I think the thing that I can't justify asking for or buying for the company under the company FFL, like I said, is probably the AK. And so I think by and large, a customized AK. And man, Bandito Bill had some pretty nice Arctic looking specimens in his armory there. So
for mine, I've got it put up somewhere. I'll introduce you to Occam and you'll
yeah, do that.
I'll give you the info when we get off here. Occam Defense Solutions.
So I have to be careful about a lot of that stuff, because if I go out and buy something and spend the money on it and it happens to be a competitor's stuff, it just doesn't look good.
Well, you're not competing on AKs, so you can
True.
get AK.
Yeah, none of the law enforcement groups that we train or deal with AKs, man. So we're in the clear.
You're in the clear there. You can have them all.
Yep.
And you're gonna want them all after you start getting into it, man. It's like anything.
Oh, I know.
I was so dreading getting into it because I always wanted to learn more about the AK, and I'm an AR guy. I had dozens of ARs, built several dozen, and just really AR guy. And I always wanted to get into the AK, but I was just like, I know where it's going to go. I know where it's going to lead. And now I got more AKs than
right.
That I got.
We had to know how to use them. We had to go through an AK fam, and everything from foreign weapons like the RPG-7 and anything Soviet bloc.
Yeah.
Era
listen to the AK Corner, the Talking Lead AK Corner. Again, like I said, we're doing our 4th season starting this month. Be dropping the 15th, like always. And I think you'll learn a lot.
Yeah, I love it, man. Love it. I want to be a convert just like you. So
there you go.
Yeah.
So what is laws be damned, money be damned, rules be damned, people be damned? What would you own? You could have anything you wanted.
Probably a Hilo, man.
Well,
I like the MD. I like the little guys. I like the little birds.
Okay.
I think those are the coolest. I got to ride in a couple of them, and I just think they're just the coolest. My son and I are into playing Battlefield 2042 now, and that's my favorite.
Is that the new Battlefield that's out?
Yeah, and that's
I haven't done that one yet.
Gotta get on that thing, man. It's fun, and that's my new favorite vehicle is that little chopper. I mean, it's got the miniguns on it and the rocket pods, and man, I think that thing's great. And I was, I don't know, growing up, but I watched Magnum PI growing up. So
yeah.
Remember that little sucker. Yep, TC flying that thing around.
Yeah. But you would have missile launchers and guns and shit mounted on yours. Oh,
absolutely.
There you go.
Yeah, go hog hunting in Texas with that thing, man. You win it. Right?
That would be. I'm surprised somebody hasn't done that yet.
Well,
they probably have.
Yeah, they probably have. They just don't talk about it a lot. I don't want the ATF banging on their door.
Yeah, they don't want the PETA banging on their door.
Yeah, no kidding, right?
They're worse than the ATF, probably.
Jeez.
So this is a new one that I've thrown in. Okay. And I've had some fun with this question. So, do you believe in the existence of or the possibility that aliens exist?
To be honest with you, my theory has always been that everything that we see craft-wise is something from the future. meaning that time travel, people are going back.
Somebody figured out Isaac, or not his name. What's his name? Einstein's theory.
Yeah, that what we're seeing is just stuff from the future, and hopefully not, but the people we're seeing are heavily evolved humans, right, from the future, from thousands of years in the future, that are just going back to influence their future somehow, right, by changing things back in ours.
Yeah.
That's always been my theory. I like my
thought about that. Yeah, I've thought about that.
Yeah. I've done a lot of reading, man. I think that one of the things that I keep coming back to is that our solar system's set up so perfectly for life on this planet, because no other solar system, at least that we've encountered, thinks that there's a setup like ours insofar as is it Jupiter? Yeah, that Jupiter is the gravitational pull of Jupiter is pulling all the asteroids and meteorites out of our general orbit. So stuff that would impact life on our planet's being sucked into its gravitational pull, and it's just set up perfectly for what we have going on. And I don't know, I grew up.
But out of all the billions that they say of solar systems that are out there, you don't think there's a possibility of another one that's?
I don't know, man. I grew up, I obviously still have faith in Lord Almighty, and kind of grew up, in a Christian home, and
Sure.
I like the thought of being an anomaly. Yeah.
I like the thought of being the only one out there.
Yeah. Now that being said, I can't discount the fact that technology probably makes some strange things happen here, right, in our present, based on what's going on in the future. But
yeah. I've thought about the future theory before, hypothesis, but I just don't think that we're responsible enough that we wouldn't come back to the past and change it somehow.
Yeah.
Rather than just observe, because I don't think that humans could do that. They're just too greedy, too selfish.
Yeah, human nature, brother. Come on.
I don't guess we would know if they changed it or not, would we? Because we're in the present, so we wouldn't know.
So we wouldn't know until we got to the future. But I mean, if you think about it, why wouldn't you, right? If you could go back and manipulate it so that one society is doing better than the other.
Yeah. I walk in Bill Gates' garage and I steal his idea.
You remember Hot Tub Time Machine movie, don't you? That was one of
yeah, it's been a while. I haven't watched that in a while.
Lugal instead of Google. Yeah, that's what it reminds me of.
But yeah, I mean, who hasn't fantasized about, time travel? Yeah, sure. That's the thing. So what about Sasquatch?
So I've got a really good buddy here who is not only was he former Marine Force Recon guy, but he also went in again during the war as a CCT, as an Air Force CCT, and saw some action, and actually blew up his ankle on a landing from a halo jump. So I won't mention him by name, but he actually was, a solid operator, trustworthy guy. And he was actually doing some hiking here in Idaho, up in a town called Crouch, which is, central Idaho in the mountains, in the Boise Cascade mountain area, which is famous for Sasquatch sightings. Actually, there's been several. And he was with another guy who was also another Army veteran. And so they both corroborate each other's stories, and they were hiking towards a destination from the campground, which is vacant in the fall. So there's nobody out there. It's just those two guys. They didn't see any of the vehicles at the trailhead. They parked their vehicle in, started hiking out in the direction they were going. And they got to a thicket, and they heard something, weren't sure what it was. And as they started closing in on the thicket, a rock got launched out of it.
Oh.
And they're both armed, because these guys aren't stupid. Being veterans, they're armed. So they both have ARs. And so he stops, opens his ears, tries to assess the situation. And I heard this firsthand from him. It's not a secondhand story. And then he figures, okay, if there's somebody messing around, they're going to get shot up. And then they push closer. Well, this time a head-sized rock, comes launching out of that thicket like a cannon.
Oh, shit.
And he said that they looked at each other and they knew something was amiss, because to throw a rock at that velocity, especially as dense as it was, and we're talking big river stones, right? So these things probably like, geez, I wouldn't even imagine, it's probably like 20, 30, 40, 50 pounds.
Yeah.
At that velocity, he knew something was wrong. So they turned tail and left and never talked about it. Never saw anything, but the thing got shot out of there like it got shot out of a slingshot, right? So,
yeah.
And that's the only thing he remembers. And then another really good buddy of mine who actually does our social media, Austin Legg is his name. Austin has done social media for Everly Stock. He does it for Right On Optics, which I'm sure you know the company.
Yeah, used to be a sponsor. Yeah.
Yep. He was.
J-Mac was on our live that we just did.
Yeah, he was driving in Nevada. Has a story about driving in Nevada, and he told me this story firsthand too. And Austin and this other guy met each other and talked about it. But Austin was driving in Nevada in just a desolate part, and was on the highway at night, and he saw something out of the corner of his eye and looked, and here was a large human-sized form basically keeping up with the vehicle running in the flats. And he was afraid to stop the vehicle because of what he saw. He was so freaked out.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So those are the two stories that have kind of influenced my take on it, man. And I don't know.
So you think it's plausible?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's plausible. I don't know if it's possible.
You wouldn't necessarily say that you believe
yeah.
that it's a Bigfoot, but you believe it
yeah.
plausible.
Two extremely trustworthy guys that I don't think are big on making up stories. If you know Austin and you know this other guy, they're not embellishers, right? And they keep to themselves. They're not guys that go on social media and talk about it. But
would you go on a Sasquatch hunt? Not to kill him, but just to.
I'd want to be armed. The proper.
Oh, I definitely would be armed, no doubt.
I'm talking about M203, 40 Mike HEDP round. I'm not taking chances, man.
There you go. There you go. There's some people that say that the Sasquatch is alien. He's some sort of alien life form or dimensional traveler. Yeah.
Yeah. There's been some discussions about that. I don't know if I'm in that camp, but there's been some discussions.
I like the idea of Sasquatch. Yeah. I don't think there is one, but I like the idea of it, and also of aliens and UFOs. I like the idea of that, but I don't think they've ever visited this planet. I think they're out there. I think there's other life out there, but I just don't think it's made
fun to talk about, right? Fun stuff to talk about. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, last question for the new guy questions, and then we're going to talk about your training company, Forward Movement Training. If you could spend the day at the range with any one person or group of people, be it they still alive or dead or fictional, who would it be and why?
That's an interesting question, man. I've gotten to shoot with a lot of really interesting people and people with a lot of talent and everything. I mean, man, that's a tough one. That's a really tough one, man. Geez. I've always been, my dad was a huge Civil War buff, right? He's just huge, had books on it in the shelves like crazy. Like I said, he was an educator. And I've always had I'm not a guy that does Civil War reenactments or any of that stuff, but that would be so cool to just, shoot with a couple of those guys and see how they feel their weapon and how they index it and load and all that stuff. I think that'd be cool, man. I think that's my choice.
I would like to sit down and talk to him about the tactics that they use. Yeah. It's like, how does this make sense?
So
standing in a line.
Yeah, I mean, there's some good stuff there. Yeah, they had some sharpshooters, man, back then that were.
They did.
Yeah,
they did, but they should have had more. They should have all been sharpshooters and be a lot more alive. Interesting. So, any particular Civil War person that you would like, Ulysses S. Grant or Stonewall Jackson, or you more the Yankee side of things?
Well, just because I grew up. Just because I grew up in the North, man. No, I don't know. I'm not a Southerner like you, but like I spent most of my adult life in the West.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was big on, and back in the day, not only on Civil War stuff, but like Daniel Boone and the Alamo, Texas Alamo, and all that stuff.
I'm supposedly related to Daniel Boone.
Are you really?
Yeah,
Lucky
that's
you.
what I was told growing up. I don't buy it, but
You don't buy it.
I don't buy it. But
You don't probably don't want to do a 23andMe, but to find it out. But yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's it. I got one more that I want to add, and I forgot to add this one.
Yeah, do that, and then I'm gonna take a short bathroom
Take a little break, and then we'll talk about your company.
Yeah.
Which conspiracy theory would you most like to see confirmed or debunked?
So, having a TS-SCI clearance, full scope poly, all that stuff, man, I've gotten to see a lot of stuff that I can't talk about.
Come on.
And I'm
sure
about
UFOs.
I'm sure Mike Baker's worse, not just some technology that I ordinarily wouldn't believe exists, but, just geopolitical stuff, man, that is really just like, holy cow, like I didn't know. But that's, I'd be in jail if I talked about any of that stuff. So I won't go there. But I firmly believe, and this isn't part of my my scope or stuff I've been privy to, that the whole COVID thing is an attempt by China to find a pathway on a lesser virus for a lethal one, right? To use as a weapon. In fact, knowing what I know, right, as a human being, what everything I've experienced in my life.
Common sense, yeah, life experience.
Right. That it is in an ingenious way, right? Because it's not going to kill enough people that it becomes a political football, but it's going to kill enough to be like, okay, well, we found the right inroads into the human body, and now we attach it to
population control.
Right, a virus that we could. It's the same thing that we did to the Japanese, right? Like, hey, drop a couple bombs, and now all of a sudden we have them, by the balls, right?
Well, that we did to the Indians in sterilizing their women.
Sure. But if you think about a superpower like China having,
I didn't do that. The government.
So they could drop it into any city and watch it spread, right, and then watch it die out, and then effectively have, a negotiation tool or what have you, because. I've been in Africa enough to know the threat of Ebola and Marburg virus, and the way that spread was too fast, right? Everybody would essentially internally hemorrhage, die out too fast. It would spread too fast to affect.
Too fast, too violent.
Right. So if you get something that's paced out, so, and if I end up dead in the next couple of months, why, right? But that's my theory, man, is I think that it's always been a bioweapon.
But you think it's China that's directly behind it? You don't think it's a collaboration with world governments?
I'm not going to go there just because I'm attached to so much stuff. I think that
it's fun to speculate, like you said.
Yeah, but I think that China really knows what they're doing here. And I think that that it's the way to go. I think it's the way to go, Yeah. If you were looking to exert your will on the world, so to speak. So
yeah, but at the same time, it could be used against them as well, because
yes,
we know how to, and I'm sure we've got our own versions as well that we don't talk about.
Yeah, but if you have over 1 billion people, you can stand to lose a few, right?
Yeah, that's true. True. That's why I was thinking more population control than. I
know that's a theory, and it could be intertwined there. Like I said, I'm not going to comment on that on my personal belief.
Yeah, I get you. All right, let's move on.
Oh, hey, before we get into that, Lefty, let's make sure we announce the winner of that contest you had.
Oh yeah, good Good thinking. Good idea. Because
they want to know.
They want to fast forward to the end and try to find who the winner is, so that they're not. I'm sneaky that way. All right. So, lead heads. I want to first thank everybody for taking part in the giveaway, especially our listeners. But this contest being what it is, we did contact the winner. So, because we had like 200 something thousand people enter this thing, just a crazy amount of people, and we appreciate all the participation and the support from you lead heads. And keep in mind, we will have more giveaways throughout the year. So if you didn't win this one, there will be other opportunities. So don't be mad. Keep listening to the show. Don't send me hate mail. It's automated. This whole thing is automated. Although we did find some cheaters. Some of these people have these ways to enter these contests. They got like bots or something, and they can get like buku of thousands of entries in it. Dead giveaway, by the way, because I think the most you could get on this was somewhere around, it's under 1,000. So it was pretty much a dead giveaway for those that had like 100,000 entries or something like that. They were automatically kicked out of the system. Nice. But the winner is, drum roll please, ladies and gentlemen. I'll do little segments. So if you live on the eastern part of the United States, so we still got a lot of people that are eligible. So the eastern part of the United States, I guess would be considered more northeastern section. So that narrows it down a little bit more. Pennsylvania. So we got the state. Everybody's going, Pittsburgh. He's in the Pittsburgh area. And the winner is, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm not going to give the last name just for privacy reasons, Andrew H. You are the winner. Congratulations. Awesome prize package there from IWI with the Galil, lockdown with all the cool stuff that they've got with the puck and the hide a shelf, Flatline Fiberco with the dump pouch and the sling, Mission First Tactical with the magazines, the holster, the backpack, Seal 1 with the complete gun care kit, and Enforce with that awesome weapon light. So there you go. That's our winner. But like I said, don't be mad. We're going to have other ones. We're celebrating 10 years. We're going to give away some awesome stuff this year. So there you go. When I said Andrew, you kind of perked up a little bit there.
Yeah, man.
You're like, I didn't even enter that thing. How did I win?
No, it's a lot of gear, man. It sounds like an awesome win. So.
Oh, and you talking about AKs, Galils.
Yeah.
Like, like the most awesome knockoff of an AK that you can get.
Israelis do a good job, man.
Yeah, and IWI, sponsors of the show, Jeremy Gresham over there, thank you so much for putting that up and making this possible. And, of course, all the other companies, Dwight, Ronell, Chad, Tom, all you guys, thank you so much. And Dave, of course, Dave Edelman at Mission First Tactical is awesome. Colby is awesome over there. He's the one who put together the Gleam. I don't know. That's the engine that runs those giveaways. They were behind all that and made that possible. So thank you guys for that. All right, man. Let's talk training. Let's talk about forward movement training.
And you actually might
on that. Go ahead.
I was say you might actually hear, because I've got an instructor in the other room teaching on this laser shooting simulator.
Okay.
Which we're going to SHOT Show explicitly to upgrade our simulator. So we'll be going from a simulator that's a 13-foot by 8-foot screen that uses blowback weapons, right? It's with an IR laser barrel for target hits and registry. We are going to go to a 180-degree screen, which is going to have peripheral targets, and movement on your peripheral you'll have to address. So essentially 3 screens angled. and be using a simulator that has thousands of not only skill building drills, but scenarios, live scenarios with an expert production value, right? It looks physically like you're in a movie. So when you address those, or when you take a shot on somebody, there's not a cut scene, right? It doesn't look like it's slides. It'll be a fluid movement. But we are also going to incorporate haptic vests, meaning when you do get shot, you'll feel it. Right?
Yeah.
Yep.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I did this simulator earlier this year. I went to a FLIOA conference, Federal Law Enforcement Officers Association conference there in Rhode Island. And there was this company that had a simulator there, but it was one of those virtual simulators where you've got the goggles on. So it's a, fully immersed 360, kind of deal. And I got to tell you, man, it was eerily real.
Really?
I actually, when I put it on, I thought I might just be seeing what's in front of me, because I looked over to the left and it felt like I was still in the room that I was in.
Yeah.
Even though it wasn't, it was a virtual simulation. But the advances that these simulators have made and are continue to make is just mind blowing. And I really dig them. I think they're necessary, and they're an asset to training. It accompanies your real training. I'm not saying it's a replacement. It never will be a replacement for the real thing. But it definitely is a useful tool to stay, tuned and honed and build up to the real life thing without the expenditure and, possibly injury and things like that.
Now, we've got an outdoor range, but we don't have an indoor range. And I think one of the reasons why that works for us is because and we've heard this from civilians, when I mentioned the Californians coming here, a lot of them want to be able to shoot and have a permit for a gun ownership, which is something they haven't been able to do in their state. So when they come here and we put them on the simulator, it's real enough that when they go for their ECCW permit, right, which has reciprocity in Idaho in like 30 some odd states, right around where we're at, including out by you as well. We put them on the laser simulator. They go to ECCW and they've never touched a gun before. And I said, what was that like for you? They're like, man, it was not much different. And I love hearing that. That means that we can put somebody in a safe environment that's never touched a gun, get them used to that recoil, that weight, moving that gun around, sight alignment, sight picture, grip, breathing, stance, all that stuff, and get them so used to using it that when they physically fire a real gun, they're like, man, it wasn't much of a transition. And I love that, right? Because it's this nice, easy way of introducing firearms ownership and usage to somebody that has no idea.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And plus it gives somebody an idea of, without actually going in and these real life scenarios that these simulators put people in that they wouldn't normally think about. It's like, oh, I don't think I could really handle that in real life. I don't think this is for me, or this is what I've got to prepare for and I need to train even harder.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. So I think it's a good first step to set the mentality of a new gun owner as well.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we want to introduce stress in finite amounts, right? Yeah, if somebody's a seasoned operator, they want that level of stress because it's manageable to them, right?
Sure.
Law enforcement, et cetera, et cetera. But somebody that's new, we can start to ramp up that stress, increase the volume on the simulator to where it, like, with our surround sound system, it has that noise of an actual gun report. Like I said, the haptic vests have peripheral threats that they'll have to address, and obviously like change their stance and face the new danger. So we introduce that a little bit at a time, man. And people that have never touched a gun, that probably even didn't like guns at one point, they get it, right? And they're all about increasing their exposure to firearms and really embracing it, right? And that's our goal with civilians. We do have, as a training company, we do have some really advanced shooters of the non-military and non-law enforcement variety. And we do put them through some really exciting classes, because what really does it for them is the experience, right? And I'm talking about like doing counter assault team stuff from a vehicle, like mobile shooting from a vehicle. Will they ever use that stuff? And I've gotten criticized for it on social media, like, how is that applicable? And I'm like, it's applicable because it's an experience. And these guys have already been through multiple advanced rifle courses. They get bored with it. You know what I mean? Yeah, transitioning and reloading and all that stuff. I mean, that's great, but give me an experience that I will never, ever get to try, right? Night vision goggle, carbine at night, live fire stuff. Like I said, counter assault team stuff, fire team tactics, moving as a team, and communicating with one another. They love that stuff, right? And we teach it to law enforcement and military. So why wouldn't we teach it to civilians that are business owners and have had, concealed carry permits for a decade, and we know who these guys are. They've been through multiple safety classes. Why wouldn't we teach tactics like that to those guys? Yeah. So that's our high end. And then we've got everybody in between as well that come to some of the classes that we have where we do medical, like Stop the Bleed. We'll do situational awareness courses, of course, is a big one nowadays. We've got an Army psychologist that teaches warrior mindset, because that really is a thought process necessary, right, to own a gun and to repel a threat and to deal with the environment that you and I and the rest of America lives in nowadays, right, where somebody's going to see what you have and take what you got unless you can defend it. So
what are you guys doing as far as the training goes? I noticed that that you're a proponent for training teachers in schools and some of these no carry zone kind of areas, I would call them. What are you guys offering in those lines for training?
So my predecessor, the one that ended up going out west to California, probably one of the only people that's actually gone into California lately, to work with Bedros and some of the guys in that state. Before he left, I was fortunate enough that he worked hand in hand with the Idaho Board of Education to develop a version of Run, Hide, Fight. The teachers, unfortunately, didn't like the name Run, Hide, Fight because it sounds violent, right? They wanted something that sounded,
it is.
I know, we're on the same page there, man. But they wanted something that sounded a little bit more palpable. So Move, Secure, Defend was what they conceived. And it just was a version of Run, Hide, Fight that they could sell to educators a lot more, because they wanted educators to have options, like we all do, right, in a school shoot, in a potential school shooting. So that's big in this state, and we actually have a better time pushing that same concept to not just private schools with better funding, and they're more receptive to this type of training, but also to churches. In wake of the Texas church shooting, I think was it last year?
Yeah.
Churches are big on having security teams and being insulated from harm in that respect, but also to private businesses, right, that just don't want that liability like they did at the Inland Regional Complex in San Bernardino when that place was attacked by 2 terrorists. There was, couple,
and they were terrorists.
Yeah, couple $100 million of liability lawsuits. Hey, you never gave us the tools we needed to, feel safe.
It's because your laws prevent it, you idiots.
Yeah, exactly. So a lot of companies here don't want that liability lawsuit. They don't want to be on the hook for that, and they want procedure and policy.
It's a newsflash. You're going to get sued no matter what.
Yeah.
So it's better to train and have people that can defend themselves, is my theory on that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the company, like I said, is kind of, it's brick and mortar. So it's relegated to the region, but we certainly travel to instruct other law enforcement outfits or federal agencies or units outside our borders, just not too far outside our borders. But
give me a run through of, let's say you're training a church, or whatever. We'll use a church as an example. Of the curriculum that you would go through for training that. Are you teaching them to identify threats, and then
Yep.
how to deal with them once they identify them, de-escalate maybe before it goes to the throwdown.
Absolutely. Maybe not as aggressive as you see in the Texas situation, but if somebody enters the church proper with a gun, they're wielding it, they're going to get shot. But we do everything from situational awareness, which is threat identification, behavior profiling, which is a big one, picking up cues of stuff that doesn't look right, to site assessment, right? Because a lot of sites, you can drive your truck right through the front door in some of these because they didn't, when it came to planning, they never thought that out.
Yeah.
And what an easy way to breach, and squirt into a church is to, drive your truck right through the big glass ornate front doors and cause mayhem and havoc there. So, and we also work hand in hand here with a surveillance company that installs cameras and, all kinds of detection equipment so that if that's what they want for their location, they can, we can implement that as part of the package. So, yeah, the whole security team stuff, hey, that's great. But, we don't want these guys to be SWAT operators. We just want these guys to have options if stuff goes sideways. And luckily for a lot of churches, there's a lot of military veterans and a lot of current and former law enforcement agents working for them. So
absolutely. And there's a lot of people willing to provide that for their community because they're part of that church. They're willing to be a part of that team. So, money wise, I'm sure other than the security system and stuff like that, they're not looking at a whole lot to be able to staff something like that. But you guys will go in and you'll install security cameras and things like that too. You do that as well?
Yep. We just give them a lot of options. Usually the proposals are like an a la carte proposal, and they can kind of pick and choose what they think works from them from a budgetary standpoint, or they can, if they want the full package, they can get it. I mean, we've trained an organization here named Mission Aviation Fellowship, which actually does global disaster relief because they've got a fleet of planes, and they're worried about being a target just because they have that that name, and they do it all over the world, even in some Muslim countries as a Christian organization. And they wanted the full meal deal. They wanted the security team to be able to clear rooms and protect and respond to great threats, and we obliged. So yeah, man.
So this simulator that you guys use currently, you're talking about upgrading it, possibly. I assume that's a third party. That's not something that you designed.
No, that's yeah, of course. I mean, there's technology out there that's outstanding, and we'd probably go with the virtual stuff if we didn't think that it wouldn't be as relevant as their own hand touching and manipulating a weapon. That's where watching it is one thing, right? But actually,
well, this one allowed you to use your own gun.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, that's outstanding. Yeah. That's technology, man.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. I'll see if I've got the info for the dude and maybe
get that to me for sure. Yeah,
Good.
we're a USCCA partner. USCCA obviously being a really big proponent and kind of stepping into that vacuum that the NRA used to occupy. That's now become a less driving force, right, in gun rights. But USCCA also does concealed carry, which is in their name, concealed carry insurance.
Sure.
So if there is an incident where you shoot somebody in self-defense, you've got attorneys at the ready, but they also do course curriculums and all kinds of stuff. So the one we're looking at is called TI, and TI and USCCA are partners now. So we're kind of pushing that company as a simulator provider, but we're also looking at SHOT Show at Vertra, which we used to have. We used to have a Vertra 100 here. And we're also looking at other options like Milo and Gunfighter SES. I mean, they all have the same general setup, right? 180-degree screens, blowback weapons, they use green gas like airsoft, but have an IR laser and just got to evaluate and pick what's best for us.
Do you guys have like a shoot house set up there?
We do. We have a shoot house for non-lethal. In fact, it was used yesterday. We've used it from everything from UTM rounds to simunitions to airsoft. It depends what the agency comes in with. The McCall guys that came in, McCall City Police Department came in yesterday. They have really nice airsoft weapons, which are cheaper and, you know, easier to manipulate and less money to maintain. So we use airsoft in accordance with them. And then some agencies like our Idaho Department of Corrections, they use simunitions. So they'll come in with simunition weapons and train in the shoot house and the surrounding area with those. So
yeah. I really like the UTM stuff.
Yeah. Just not cheap, you know?
No, it's not. It's definitely not cheap. But it's effective.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's agency preference, right? And whatever the agency wants to use. And, you know, we do encourage using something they're comfortable using, but, you know, we'll make suggestions for sure. So
if people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way for the forward movement training? And I'm sure if people just have questions, are you cool if they contact you for?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're
self-defense and
we do it all, man. We're, you know, full spectrum, and we're actually branching into a lot more medical. You know, we do stop the bleed and tactical combat casualty care as well.
So much more practical skill, life skill to have than anything.
Yeah, but now we're even doing you know, TEMS and you know, EMT training and, you know, all that stuff that corporate generally wants to do for their folks if they've got a need for it. And forwardmovementtraining.com is the website, and there's all the other options that they can, you know, that they can pick from there and kind of look to see what courses we offer. And like I said, a lot of this stuff is not just firearms based, but it is also you know, based in realistic detection training, like situational awareness or behavior profiling or active shooter type stuff. You know, basically stuff that's left to bang and not stuff that's right to bang, which is whatever the sexy stuff is, right? That you and I talk about all the time, like responding to a threat with your gun and you know, and putting the shooter down. I mean, that's relevant, but we want people to have options.
Yeah. And the protective security, do you do the training for that, or do you offer protective security?
We do both. We've had some high profile clients and you know, people that have been in the news recently and want their loved ones to have, you know, a finite amount of protection, you know, either, you know, a few weeks or a few months or, you know, better part of a year. And, you know, I got enough guys in my Rolodex that have, you know, great backgrounds for that. You know, either federal law enforcement, SWAT team guys that left special operations units that's right up their alley. So we'll field teams for that if it upon request, for sure. Gotcha. And that's the stuff that's outside the Idaho border that we've done for sure that are on you know, short-term contracts.
Sure. And you will travel for like an agency or something like that outside of the state of Idaho. And what if let's say a church, you know, wanted to get in touch with you that was in Tennessee? Would they need to come to you, or would you be able to come to them?
We'd be able to come to them for sure. It depends on what their needs are and you know, how deep they want to go in this. But we've you know, we've flown guys all over the country for this, and you know, churches find us, man. It's something that we've always done, and
absolutely. And I know we've got a lot of churchgoers that listen to the show as well. Realtors, I noticed that you've got a program for realtor safety. I used to be a real estate agent.
So you know what you can kind of
20 years. Yeah.
Showing house, middle of nowhere.
Some weirdos, man. There's some freaks out there, definitely.
Yep.
And you hear about, the tragic stories all the time about somebody scheduling an appointment for a real estate agent, and they'll get some newbie come out from BFE to show them a house, and you know, they end up raping, killing, or
Yeah, because realtors are chasing that dollar right now. There's so many of them, they're competing for that dollar. So they'll go do a showing. Yeah, they'll do a showing at night at the drop of a hat.
Got to do that. Got to do that background check, no matter what.
Meet them at the office first. Do some assessment. You bet.
Yep, definitely. Very cool. So I'm on your website here. This is the forwardmoveittraining.com. You watching the video, you guys go here. You can get in touch with them. What are the membership options? What's that all about?
So we have folks that want to be able to come in and take a certain number of classes a month to stay sharp, and we'll make all kinds of offerings to allow them to do that. So whether it's lifestyle carry courses where, hey, I just want to carry an EDC and I want to be able to deploy it against a threat, while I'm at college or in the park or what have you, to, like I said, all the way up to somebody that wants to really run and gun with their AR, and they want to be able to, to do some high speed courses because they've exhausted the advanced rifle. Take a step to the right, take a step to the left, and shoot the target. So that just give membership options, give them the ability to kind of come in 1, 2, 3, and 4 times a month, and get time on the simulator, get time on some of our regular classes. We also give them discounts. We have discounts for everything from primary weapon systems to right-on optics to ammunition to all kinds of stuff. There's a lot of perks with the membership besides just taking classes. So
memberships has its advantages.
Yep.
Let's take a couple of questions here from our listeners. Brett Vidal wants to know, what are some non-verbal indications that someone is seemingly intent on doing violence that you would share on the podcast?
Good question, Brett. Good question. There are a lot of those, and we teach that ubiquitously because we want everybody to use those cues and indicators that something is wrong before it happens, right? We want you to get off the X before you even really need to get off the X, right? And keep you and your family and your loved ones and coworkers safe. So when we talk about that, we talk about being able to pick up cues as to what we call pre-threat indicators. And a lot of those are based on changes in your environment. So for example, you walk into a coffee shop and it's the same every day and things look the same generally. There's just different players in the mix. And then one day you walk in and there's nobody saying anything and it's really quiet inside and people are just kind of like not conversing. Well, that's a pretty big anomaly, right, to your baseline. Right. And that anomaly is an indicator of an event that is either in process, going to happen, or has already happened, and you need to make some decisions based on that. We can talk everything from human behavior, right? The guy at a restaurant tapping his leg, right? That's one cue. Well, I keep an eye on that guy. It doesn't mean he's a threat. He might be dealing with stress in his life, but all of a sudden, if another cue,
I tap my leg all the time.
Me too. I'm doing it right now.
I just do it. Yeah.
If this same guy decides that he's going to be yelling at his kids or his wife, and maybe he's making overt gestures, well, now you've got a cluster of cues, and an action needs to be taken, right? Whether it's alerting somebody, maybe calling 911 if you feel the threat is ever present or too real, or maybe even telling the management of the establishment, hey, this guy's, he could potentially be violent. Yeah.
He's a time bomb.
Great question. Great lessons to learn. Like I said, we teach that stuff all the time because we want people picking up on this kind of stuff way in advance of an active shooter or event or something happening. So
Mustang Perry asks, what are some of the biggest benefits or drawbacks of simulator training?
So I'd say the biggest benefit, like I said, is that transition into live fire. It just is a nice, smooth transition into live fire. You can bring on the stress level, right, which you'd experience out at a range, from blowback to the gases escaping the gun, to the sound of the round leaving the barrel, and mimic that here in our shop under a very austere or not austere, sorry, antiseptic environment, warm, safe. You're not picking up shell casings or dealing with the heat and the cold like you would out in the environment, or dealing with loud noises from an enclosed environment like at an indoor range. So I'd say that's the best one. I'd say one of the biggest drawbacks to a simulator is actually manipulating that weapon. So when we start people on the simulator, we get them drawn from the holster right away, right? Because we want to be able to integrate that into the system. The thing they cannot do on a simulator is reload rounds, right? You know what it's like reloading your mag, unloading your mag, all that stuff. Your fingers get all raw doing that. And we've all done that out at the range, loading ARs and 1911s and, you know, all kinds of stuff. So it just doesn't have that feel.
Yeah. Next question is from Doc Dow64. What is the most underrated aspect of training or readiness?
Oh man, another really good question. Everybody automatically assumes that you know, if you're at the range and you're standing static on your target and you're in isosceles and you address that threat, that's the way every single scenario will unfold. The reason we love our shoot house here and the reason we push civilians into the shoot house here, we even amplify the sound of like crying babies and couples arguing and barking dogs and police sirens. And then we dim the lights and put, you know, police strobes in is to ramp up that stress level and realize that by and large, you will probably be in close proximity with somebody that's trying to hurt or kill you. And nobody's prepared for that. Nobody's prepared for that violence of action, right? Because the brain software isn't updated. It has to realize something bad is happening and you've got to respond immediately. And I think that is exactly what we offer in our training, is be able to shoot, you know, offhanded, right? Potentially using your support hand, your primary hand, or maybe one hand is hurt or down, or using the other one to fight off an attacker, to create that distance, create that space, use the barrel as a blunt force object, you know, on the face or the sternum to, you know, get them off you, then tap racking that gun, bring it back into battery, and then using it as an offensive weapon if you need to keep, you know, defending yourself in any type of situation. So that stuff is disregarded, man. You know, everybody thinks because they can hit a pumpkin or a TV at 25 yards, you know, they're going to be able to put down a threat. And man, when we put people through the rigors at forward movement training under those stress levels, and boy, do we ever, it reveals a lot of training scars, you know, stuff that we really try to refine and work on and get people extremely lethal in any given situation. Anybody can put a gun in a purse, right, and take it to Walmart. But what happens when stuff goes down? Can you access that weapon? Can you shoot offhanded? Can you shoot, you know, off balance? All kinds of stuff like that.
Can you shoot stressed?
Yes, absolutely. Great question, man.
Get the tunnel
question.
vision, you know, that's what it boils down to. And that's why it's so important that if you've never taken a defensive gun class, whether it be pistol or rifle or whatever it may be, if you've never put your body in that stress situation to where you get the tunnel vision, then when it happens, you're going to freeze and you're not going to know what to do. You have to experience, you have to get your body used to that. So when it does happen, you know how to react. And, you know, that's one of the, you know, we've got this segment called Facts to Fight the Myth on the show. We didn't do one today, but this will be my facts to fight the myth is, you know, I didn't know how dead I would have been, you know, when I first got into carrying, you know, a handgun. It was like, I've shot guns all my life. I know how to defend myself. And until I took that first defensive handgun course and I put my body through that stress, you know, to where I was getting the tunnel vision, where you've got all this noise and distractions and everything going on, you know, other than trying to focus on the, you know, the actual threat, how dead I would have been or someone else would have been. And that also is the determining factor on whether you decide that carrying is right for you, because it's not for everybody. It's a right that everybody has, but is it right for you? Mm-hmm. And until you put your body in that situation, that stress situation, you're not going to know physically, mentally, or morally whether you're going to be able to go through with defending yourself, defending loved ones, defending innocent people. So I highly recommend that, whether it's through Andrew here with force movement training, or you've got a local you know, training outfit where you live, or many other trainers that we've had on the show, get in touch with me. I'll help you find one. But If you've never taken one, you need to take one, because not only for yourself, but for the people around you. I mean, I would have killed innocent people. So it's something that is important, and it's part of your responsibility as a gun owner that you must do.
Definitely. Instead
of going out and buying that next gotta have, wanna have 1911 or AR or AK, just take the one you've got and spend the money on a course. That's my soapbox. So, Andrew, it's been great having you on the show, brother. I appreciate it. Leadheads, thank you for the questions. I apologize for not making the post sooner and clearer on who our guest was and what we were going to be talking about. But I think we're going to have you back on again. I think our listeners are going to enjoy this. They're going to want more. So we look forward to having you back on the show again sometime, Andrew.
I love it, brother. And hit me up if you're going to SHOT Shows, so we'll link up at some point.
I will. I really don't think it's going to be for me this year, but you never know. I may pop in. But if I do, it's going to be low key.
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good.
Definitely. So, Leadheads, go show Andrew some love. Go to his website for the forwardmovementtraining.com, and then for his books, give the website for that again. afailedstate.com.
Yep.
And then on the grams, is it just that at A Failed State, or is it underscore or anything?
It's underscore A Failed State novel with all underscores, and it's in Audible. If somebody wants to listen to it in the car, and ebook and signed hardcover, I'd be glad to send somebody out a signed hardcover copy anywhere in the U.S. So.
You want to give one of our listeners an autographed copy of that did a question today?
Yeah, I'd love that.
You want to do that?
Yeah.
Let's reward one of our listeners with an autographed copy of your book, A Failed State. Which question did you like the best? And that's who's going to win.
I like the last one, man. I thought the last one was solid.
Which one was that?
One we were talking about, the very last
aspects of. No, that's the simulator. It was. What is the most underrated aspect of training?
Yes.
Okay. Doc Dow 64. Doc Dow 64. You are the winner. So shoot me an email, talkinglead@gmail.com, and I will forward your information on to Andrew, and he'll get you that book. So thanks for offering that, man. We like to reward our listeners here. So
perfect.
Very cool. That'll work. And again, a big congratulations to Andrew H. in Pittsburgh, PA, the winner of our holiday giveaway that we had. Appreciate everyone's participation in that again, and we will do more. So stay tuned. And we have been in touch with Andrew. So, Andrew, you don't have to get in touch with me. That's one of the rules on this show, Andrew, is that if you win something, I don't contact you. You have to send me the email, listen to the show. That's how you find out if you win. Pretty good policy, don't you think? Did I lose you?
No, I'm here.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
I thought you went dead for a minute there.
No, I'm here, man.
All right, go show all our sponsors some love, Leadheads. KelTechWeapons.com. They will be at SHOT Show as far as I know. I haven't heard any differently. But KelTech is back with us for another season. Mission First Tactical, go to missionfirsttactical.com. Use the code LEADHEAD, get 20% off anything at Mission First Tactical. That's their magazines, their holsters, their dump trays, anything that they've got there, accessories, AR accessories. Hopefully they'll get into the AK stuff here pretty soon. Seal One, go to seal1.com. Use the code LEADHEAD. You're going to get 25% off any of their cleaning products at Seal One. And Factory 47, that's where you're going to get the Talking Lead AK Corner t-shirts and hoodies and our mugs, which I don't have one here, but all that you can get at Factory 47. Our classic standard Talking Lead logoed items, you go to 1776united.com and you use the code Talking Lead. You're going to get 20% off anything at 1776 United, including our Talking Lead apparel that we have there. And I'm forgetting somebody. IWIUS. Again, big thanks to Jeremy at IWI. They're coming back for sponsors of the show for the AK Corner. And we've got a new presenting sponsor, Andrew, for our AK Corner, which we will announce. I'm keeping it a secret until our first episode on who our new presenting sponsor of the AK Corner is. But yeah, you guys will be pleasantly pleased. So, Leadheads, go and show all our sponsors some love. Let them know how much you appreciate them making the show possible each and every week, and sometimes more. And then all the other cool stuff that we do. And until then, as always, Leadheads, keep your loved ones close.
Keep your firearms closer and train like you fight.
I like that.
Yeah, man.
It's a good